Hello, and welcome to my final summated video where I'll be discussing my experience in this experiential learning course as well as my experience as a marketing intern at Hughes & Co. First, I'll provide a brief description of my placement. So as I mentioned, I was a marketing intern at Hughes & Co. And a fun fact about Hughes & Co. is that the CEO, Allie Hughes, is actually a Brock University alumni, and she graduated from the exact same program that I'm currently in, which is business communications. A good chunk of my tasks had to do with content marketing in the form of blog posts. So I would write blog posts for different clients, as well as the marketing agency itself, and utilize SEO, which is also search engine optimization strategies, in order to help the brand or company gain more exposure and end up on the Google search list. So I would use my communication and writing skills in these blog posts, and I also got to do marketing research to write about different topics. Now, although a majority of my tasks had to do with blog writing, I also got to experience a bunch of different things. So I got to do email newsletters, which was email marketing, and I also got to do social calendars and plan social content for different clients. So basically, for example, Safari Niagara, I got to do a whole entire month of content for them on their Instagram. So I got to choose the pictures, I got to come up with the captions, and also come up with strategic hashtags. I am personally a beauty and fashion lover, so one of my favorite things that I got to work on was the Cheekbone Beauty 2021 strategy and mood board. So I got to do research on beauty trends for 2021, and I also got to create a mood board with a bunch of different pictures for the company to get inspiration from. I also had the opportunity to work on things a little bit outside of my comfort zone and get a little bit creative. So, for example, I got to write these newsletters from the North Pole News, and they are going to be used as Christmas gift wrapping paper in 2021. So I got to be creative and write a bunch of different newsletters, and these newsletters are going to be used to wrap gifts. So here's an example of the blog posts that I would write for Hughes & Co. themselves. So for example, I wrote about inbound marketing trends, I wrote about pay-per-click advertising, and I wrote about the future of e-commerce. So these are just three of many blog posts that I would write. And a really great fact about these is that I was told that the blog visitors actually doubled as soon as the interns started writing blog posts. It shows that we're using SEO strategies correctly. So now I will be discussing the best part of the course and what I would change. So my favorite part of the course, aside from the actual internship itself, because of course that is unbeatable, I personally really enjoyed the guest videos. So when the guests would make videos about their different experiences in the field that I'm studying, it was really great because it was relatable. And when you are a student and you don't really know what to expect after graduating, or you just a fear of the unknown, it's really nice to have someone to relate to and someone to get advice from. So those were really my favorite part of the course. In terms of something I would change, honestly, I think the course did a great job. It has forums, it has lecture content, there was videos, there was actual lectures that were live, there was the internship, there was a bunch of different aspects of the course. I don't think there's much I would change about it in that aspect. The only thing that I found that I struggled with a little bit was actually getting the full hours for my internship. So initially they were 160 to begin with, and even when it was reduced to 120 to 160, I found that I still kind of struggled. I did end up with 121 hours. However, that is because I kind of had to squeeze in all my hours before I ended. And I think that struggle has to do with being remote. So, of course, we face challenges working remotely. And I think that gaining those hours were one of the challenges. And of course, there are things I did to help, beat that challenge. But I did find that that was a struggle for me. Now, I know I already touched on my favorite part of the course, but I did want to mention something else that I actually really enjoyed doing, which was this infographic and any other work that I did on my LinkedIn. And what I really liked about these kinds of assignments was that these are the kind of things that are really going to help you stand out on LinkedIn, but they're not the kind of things that we think about doing ourselves on our free time. I'm never going to sit there and think, oh, let me make an infographic. But now I've done it, and I personally think it looks great. I think it shows that I have graphic skills. It shows that my communication's great, and it also shows the actual skills that I learned in my internship, as well as transferable skills, which we've learned in this course are really important. So now I'll be discussing whether the course met, exceeded, or failed my expectations, and I would say that the course actually exceeded my expectations. And I say this because There was a lot of things that I learned in this course that I wasn't expecting to learn. For me to say that it's met my expectations would be that I learned everything that I thought I would learn and I gained the experience that I thought I would gain. But even within my placement, there were a lot of things that I learned and that are part of marketing that I didn't even know were part of marketing just based on school. And you think after 4 years of school that you know everything, and after you've taken a bunch of marketing courses, that you pretty much know everything there is to know about marketing. But the thing that we've learned in this course is that you constantly keep growing, and that is a great thing. You can be 10 years into, your field and have 10 years of experience, but you're still learning every day. So that is something that, I experienced in this internship, is that I learned a lot that I didn't think I would learn. And for that reason, I would say it exceeded my expectations. So, what connections have I made between the theories I've learned and also working professionally? So, one of the biggest things I think we discuss in this course is leadership. And in the past, I've always correlated leadership with, being on top or being a CEO. For example, Allie would be a leader. And, in my head, I'm kind of just like, well, being an intern is not being a leader. That's someone who's still learning. But you can be a leader and still be learning. And that's something that I've really experienced in my internship, is that I've seen the people I worked with exemplify leadership. Even the students that I got hired with, I've seen them exemplify leadership. So that is one of the connections I've made. And another thing is also growth mindset. I see the way that my thinking has kind of changed as a result of this course. I don't limit myself anymore, and I react differently to things as a result of this course. So, what efforts have the professionals that I've encountered made to learn new skills? So, I would say that the people that I work with, or the professionals that I've encountered, are constantly willing to learn. So they don't limit themselves. They don't think, I'm already in this position. I already have a job here. I know all there is to know. I see that they're constantly taking on new tasks, maybe things that they haven't tried before. And a lot of them who, are already in a good position are still taking courses on LinkedIn and HubSpot and learning new strategies and new concepts. So I would say that is something that they've done in effort to learn new skills. So, how did a remote placement affect my experience and what did I learn? So, I would say it affected my experience by really being, focused on self guided learning. And what I mean by that is, even during training, there wasn't someone there to sit beside me and, tell me this is what you can do. It was pretty much self guided. I had to do courses, and everything after that was kind of just trial and error. For example, the blog posts. That was one of my first tasks, was to write a blog post, and I had never written a blog post before. It really worried me because I was like, I don't know if my work is good enough, to be posted on the Hughes and Co. website. Really, I just had to push myself and did it, and I really surprised myself. And so what I learned from this is that there's a lot of times where you'll doubt yourself and you think that, you can't do something by yourself, or you do need help. While help is great, it really helped me kind of grow as a person and kind of challenge myself on my own. And so I would say that is what I learned. So, what advice would I give employers and future students to make the most of remote learning? So, in terms of employers, I think a really good thing to do would be to have weekly meetings. Now, I know that employers, probably do have weekly meetings with the people that they work with, but in terms of interns, I feel a lot of interns working remotely can tend to feel disconnected. Personally, I only had 2 meetings with my supervisor when I was doing my placements, and these were kind of spread out through 8 months. Even if we do chat every day, there is a bit of a disconnect. So I think, maybe just a weekly check in to see how things are going. If there's anything I can do to help them out, I think that would be really good to implement. In terms of students, I would say that you should make the most out of the resources that you have. So if you are not, really that tech savvy, there are tons of tutorials on YouTube, for example, that you can watch in order to learn how to work remotely. It can be a challenge for some people. I personally would say that it wasn't really a challenge for me because I feel like I'm always on the computer. I have a lot of experience, with different applications. And I also would say that I learn quickly. But some people don't, and that's okay. And so I would say basically just if you need help, ask for it. It can be intimidating, but just make use of the resources that you do have. So, what actions did I take to meet my learning objectives? Now, going into this course, I kind of just assumed that all of my learning objectives would be met because, I all my objectives have to do with marketing and I'm a marketing intern, so doesn't make sense that I wouldn't cover it all, but it does. There's a lot to do in marketing. So I think going into an internship, you can't just assume that you are going to work on everything you want to work on. And I kind of realized that, halfway through. And so what I did to meet my learning objectives was I communicated them. And even after the assignment where we had to list our learning objectives and have our supervisor sign, supervisors are busy and, they're not always going to have those objectives on the top of their mind. During our check-ins, when we would have a check-in, they would ask if, is there anything that you would like to work on? And I would say, one of my objectives is email marketing. And that's something that I actually didn't work on for a few months. And that was one of my top objectives. And so after I communicated that and you said, you know what, I'm really passionate about learning about this and gaining experience in this, I think that when I leave and when I find a job, email marketing is going to be one of the big, skills that I would need. They definitely heard me and they gave me some email marketing to work on and newsletters to do. And so, yeah, that definitely helped me a lot. So, in terms of transferable skills, there are a lot that I would say I acquired and also enhanced. So, I would say my communication skills, both written and verbal, my planning and organization skills, my ability to work on a team as well as independently, my tech savviness. And one of the main skills that I would highlight is my ability to adapt. So, my adaptability. And I back this up with evidence used in the workplace in terms of working remotely. So, that is something that I'd never done before, but I was able to adapt really quickly and I was able to get all my work done and have things flow freely just through my ability to adapt. When discussing reflection skills, one of the things that stands out to me are the critical reviews that we conduct in this course. These are really beneficial to me because I never really sit back and take the time to kind of reflect on my actions. These critical reviews kind of allowed me to do so, and I found myself doing this even without, the assignment of doing so. Really got to sit back and kind of think about, what happened in a day of work or in a certain situation. What could I do better next time? And how can that experience allow me to grow in the future? I really kind of go well with the growth mindset that we discuss in this course as well. And so I think those are going to be really beneficial for me to keep using in the future. So now I'll be discussing what I learned about myself, my abilities, my confidence levels, and my comfort zone through this course and internship. So in the past, I found that I did tend to doubt myself a lot, even, if I kind of knew what I was doing, but I wasn't 100% sure, I would kind of just stay away from it. And this internship kind of helped me get away from that. So, for example, I already mentioned about how the blog posts that I wrote, they ended up being my biggest task. And when I first got that task, I was really intimidated and kind of scared because I'd never written a blog before. And I doubted myself. I didn't think I could do it. I'd never written it before. And I just thought it wasn't a task for me. However, I still did it, and after writing the blog, my supervisor was really impressed, and I kept getting requested to write blogs because they were really impressed with my writing skills and my research that I had done on marketing. It's crazy to think that the biggest thing that I was, scared of or unsure about ended up being the thing that I actually worked on the most because it was the thing I was good at. So the thing that I learned about myself is that I really need to stop doubting myself. I need to look past all the doubts and all the fears. Everyone has these fears or doubts or, things that they don't think they can do. Your biggest critic is yourself, and that is, cliche to say, but it's true. I think that now, whenever I am approached with an opportunity to do something new, I will take it, even if it does intimidate me. That's a good thing because that means that I'm pushing myself forward, going out of my comfort zone, and allowing myself to grow. So, what I learned from my successes is that I can really do anything I set my mind to. And another thing that I learned is nobody's really amazing at everything they do the first time. I kind of noticed that I expect myself to be. So, things that I haven't really done before, I kind of don't want to do just because I'm not amazing at it. People like to be good at the things they do, but how are you going to be good at that if you don't put in the work to practice? Another thing that I noticed is that people often, including myself, compare themselves to, people who have been practicing something for years. So, for example, I'm comparing my marketing strategies and ideas to people who have been in the industry for several years, and that just doesn't add up. I need to be less hard on myself. It's something that I've actually learned through my successes is that I've been able to be successful, through working hard at something and through failing and then learning from that failure and then succeeding from it. The two things that I learned from disappointments and challenges kind of contradict each other, but they make sense. So I learned that not everything is in your control. So it is important for me not to, blame myself for things that are out of my control, because that's something I think I tend to do. Even if I didn't have control over a situation, I just feel responsible for that. Another thing that I learned is that I do have control of some situations. And there are some situations where, I don't think it's my place to kind of say anything or speak up or take control, but it is my place. One time I let my supervisor know that I was available and I asked her for some work, and she let me know that she'd be sending some over in a couple minutes, and I ended up not getting the work for that day. I guess she just forgot, and for me, that was okay. It was just one day of missed work. That was no problem. And then a few days later, I asked for some more work another time, and she let me know that she'd be sending some over, and again, she forgot, and that is okay. I should have, spoken up, maybe reminded her, but I kind of had this fear of, I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to bug my supervisor. She's probably busy. As I mentioned, I struggled with getting my hours. So that is a situation where I could have really taken control, sending her a quick sentence, a quick message, being like, hey, like, I know, you might be busy, but just a reminder that I'm available if you have some work for me to work on. And that could have really helped. So that is an example of, taking control of situations that can be taken control of. So, what have I learned about my expectations of myself as well as the expectations my employers have of me? So, I think these expectations kind of align, and that is that I expect myself and my employers expect myself to do good work. And I think that is because they know that I am capable of doing good work. And I think I sometimes forget that part for myself. I expect myself to do good, but I don't. I kind of hesitate and, doubt myself and think, am I even capable of doing this? And it kind of leaves me feeling bad because I have these high expectations, but I feel like I can't meet them all the time. But I know that I have these expectations because I know I'm capable of doing that work. So I think that kind of really motivates me. And, when I'm thinking negative thoughts, I just need to remind myself that I have these expectations because I know I can meet them. And finally, what advice would I give to future students considering this course? The first thing I will say is go for it. One of the biggest things that I kind of like to keep in mind is that a degree is a really great thing to have. It is something to be proud of, and it's an accomplishment. However, you are graduating with hundreds of students getting that same degree. When you graduate, your degree is the base of your knowledge and it's the base of your experience. So when you go for an interview, it's amazing to have internships on your resume to discuss and talk about experiences. For situational or behavioral questions, you can use your internship experience to talk about those and really help explain why you are qualified for that job. I definitely go for it. Even besides the internship, even the course itself, you'll learn so much. You'll develop professionally, and it's just a great thing to do. Do not doubt yourself. Do not think, am I prepared for an internship? Am I even going to do well in an internship? Internship is there to help you grow. So get rid of those fears, don't doubt yourself, and just go for it.